Arch and Robotic followed. A moment later, Hecarim did too. Emina must have followed the order and run because the distance was feasible. Hecarim desperately sprinted to keep up with the others, who were moving as fast as they could. Naturally, their opponents weren't about to let them get away. He could hear the undead footsteps coming after them. Eat this. Hecarim took out a sticky alchemical solution and tossed it behind him. The solution spread slickly across the floor. Its effects were immediate, and the sound of footsteps vanished. Intelligent undead might have thought to go around, but low-tier undead didn't have those kinds of smarts. He figured that once monsters like skeletons with no muscular strength were stuck, it would be difficult for them to rip themselves free. Undead detected. 4 coming from the right. That's a wall. No, it's an illusion. 4 ghouls descended on them through the wall. The bony, thin undead, lunging with their long, yellow, claw-like fingernails, were terrifying. That said, no one on this team was such a baby as to shake in their boots at this level of horror. Don't underestimate us. Emina drew her dagger immediately and stuck it into a ghoul's neck. A foul liquid, likely blood, glugged out. 1 ghoul crumpled to the floor. Robotic, next to Emina, had bashed in the head of another with a mighty swing of his mace. Hecarim concluded he could leave that up to those 2. He turned to see what was happening behind them. The undead were definitely giving chase, so maybe it's safest to spread around some more alchemical solution. Just as he was about to throw it, he spotted a horrifying monster, Elder Lick. At the same time, he noticed the thunderbolt at the elite caster's fingertips. Even Hecarim knew what spell that was. It was lightning, a bolt of electricity that pierced in a straight line. There was only one way to evade it: shove the ghouls back. Emina and Robotic probably had no idea why Hecarim was ordering them to do that. But they both obeyed without hesitation. White lightning flashed past in the hallway behind them just as they piled in past the illusion wall, ghouls and all. As the air popped and quivered with electricity, a magic circle appeared beneath Hecarim and his team's feet. The next moment, they were enveloped in an inescapable pale blue light, and the scene before their eyes abruptly changed. Everyone looked sharp. On your guard, huh? Although the ghouls were gone and their surroundings had changed, their nerves, tensed from repeated battles, hadn't relaxed. Still, under such strange conditions, he couldn't be blamed for emitting a dazed murmur. Hecarim shook his head and regained focus. The first thing he needed to do, although getting a handle on their situation was important, was check the status of his teammates. Emina, Arch, Robotic. The members of Foresight were all in the exact same battle formation as when they entered the magic circle. No one was missing. After confirming one another's safety, they remained vigilant and took in their surroundings. They were in a dimly lit corridor. It was wide and tall. It was big enough for a giant to walk down. Torches were mounted on the wall. Their flickering flames created shadows that moved as though they were dancing. At the end of the hall was a huge barred gate. White magic light came through the gaps. In the opposite direction, the corridor seemed to stretch on for quite a distance. They could see by the light of the torches that there were a number of doors along the way. Overall, it was quiet. The only sound was the crackling of the torches. For the moment, there didn't seem to be any monsters threatening to attack. Despite that conclusion, they couldn't relax. I don't know where we are, someone said, but the atmosphere is totally different from what we've seen up until now. Certainly the feel of this place was completely different from that of the earlier tomb. It seemed more civilized somehow. As the Foresight crew looked around, trying to figure out where they were, only Arch's behavior differed. This is keenly picking up on the emotion in her words. Hecarim asked, "Do you know it? Or do you have an idea? I know of a place that is similar, the Empire's arena." "Ah, now that you mention it, yes." Robotic voiced his agreement. Hecarim and Emina didn't say anything, but they also agreed. This corridor definitely looked like the one they'd taken from the waiting room to the arena when they fought there, so there must be an arena over there. Robotic pointed at the barred gate. "Probably. And since we got teleported here, it must mean enter the arena." Not that he had any idea what was waiting for them there. "We were in danger. Long-distance teleportation is said to be Tier 5 magic. A caster so powerful they can set a trap using magic at that level. I've only heard of people like that in fairy tales. Someone with unbelievable magic skills created these ruins. We shouldn't accept their invitation. I suggest we go in the opposite direction. But if they inviting us, couldn't we try talking to them?" mean, if we disobey, 1T they just get mad and think, screw these guys, both ways are dangerous. What do you think, Robodick? I agree with both of you, but I do wonder about something Arch said. Did the one inhabiting this tomb really lay the trap? Perhaps he simply made good use of something a third party created, someone he never met. They all looked at one another and sighed. Standing here debating wouldn't T get them anywhere. They didn't T have enough information. They weren't T agreeing, but they had to come up with a conclusion. Robber is right. These ruins might be 500 years old. Yeah, supposedly magic was more advanced back then. You mean the country that conquered the continent but fell almost immediately? Only its capital remains, right? The 8 kings of avarice they were said to have spread magic throughout the world. If these ruins are from that era, I see. Then I vote we enter the arena. If he sent us here with a trap, he probably wouldn't let us get away any. At these remarks from Robodick, the other 3 nodded, resolute, and the party set off. When they approached the barred gate, it lifted swiftly, as if it had been waiting for them. When they passed through it, the scene greeting them was a large open space. Multiple levels of spectator seating surrounded it. This arena was no less impressive than the Empire S. In fact, the architecture might have been superior. The whole area was illuminated with white continual light. They could see everything as if it were midday. Their surprise peaked when they saw the spectator seating. Innumerable lumps of dirt figures called golems were sitting there. Golems were inorganic life forms created via magic. They faithfully took and carried out orders from their master. Since they didn't need food or sleep, didn't get tired, and didn't age, they were extremely useful as gatekeepers, guards, and laborers. Even weak ones fetched quite a price. This was because of how much time, effort, and money went into making them. Hecarim and his team charged quite a lot for their services, but even they would have trouble affording one. Golems were that expensive, and yet this arena was practically overflowing with them. Hecarim took it as a sign of how wealthy the owner of the place was, as well as how lonely. The group exchanged glances, as they had a number of times since being transporting to this place. They advanced into the center of the silent arena. We ray outside. In response to Amina's voice, the others looked up. They saw the night sky. The lights in the area were so bright they couldn't make out the stars, but it was still undoubtedly the sky. So we got teleported outside. Then if we use fly we can, yeah. With a shout that interrupted Arch, a figure jumped from a terrace. It must have been VIP seating. That was the equivalent of 6 stories up, but the figure flipped in midair and made a featherlight landing. It wasn't due to magic, but simply great physical technique. The thief Amina gasped at the perfectly executed movement. The figure absorbed the full shock of the landing by bending its legs. Then it flashed a proud grin. It was a dark elf boy who had jumped down. His long ears, poking out from his silky golden hair, twitched. A smile, radiant like the sun, spread across his face. He wore fitted, dark red dragon scale light armor, top and bottom, over a layer of basic leather protective gear. On top of that, he sported a white vest with golden threading. It featured some kind of crest on the chest. Amina yelped when she saw that the color of his eyes didn't match. Why and our challengers have entered. He spoke into some kind of rod he was holding. His voice, which hadn't changed yet, was amplified to multiple times its natural volume and echoed. A thunderous pounding noise shook the arena. When the workers looked around, the golems, who hadn't budged until now, were all stomping their feet. The challengers are 4 fearless fools who have invaded the Great Tomb of Nazareth. Facing them is the ruler of the Great Tomb of Nazareth, the most supreme of supremes, Lord Aints Ul Gaun. The barred gate on the opposite side rose. The one who emerged from the dimly lit corridor was, in a word, a skeleton. The vacant eye sockets of his bleached white skull glowed with red flames. His clothing was gown-like, with a cord around his waist. He was unbelievably thin, since his body had no flesh. The reason he wasn't carrying any weapons must have been that he was a caster. What is this? His second is the captain of us Guardians, Albedo. All the members of Foresight gasped when they saw the woman who followed behind the skeleton. Her beauty surpassed even Raven Black's beautiful princess. If she seemed too gorgeous to be human, it was true horns curled forward from either side of her head and black wings sprouted from her hips. They seemed too real to be fake. With the pair's entrance, The arena shaking foot stomping changed to clapping. It was a display of joy appropriate for welcoming a king. Bathed in the thunder of the golem's unending applause, the pair moved step by step toward Foresight. "I am sorry," whispered Arch. "This is all my fault." The battle that was about to begin would probably be the most intense the team had ever faced, so intense someone could die. She must have been convinced that she'd driven them into it. If her situation wasn't what it was, they might not have taken this job and come to this tomb so underinformed. But no, what are you talking about, little lady? We all decided to take this job together. It's not your fault. Even if we didn't know about your situation, we probably would have taken it, you know. Yep, so don't worry about it. Hecarim and Robodick smiled at her. Then Emina ruffled her hair. "Okay, I imagine it's impossible, but how about we try talking to them first?" Arch asked, "Do you know what kind of undead that is?" "I sense it's intelligent, so probably some kind of elite skeleton." The bony figure in the lade waved his hand as if he were shooing something away. Sound vanished. The golem stopped moving at once. A silence so deep it hurt their ears descended on the arena. Hecarim turned to Aints, who was steadily approaching them, and bowed with sincere politeness. "First, allow us to apologize, Sir Aints Ool Gown." "Excuse me, Sir Aints Ool Gown." Aints halted and gestured with his chin, as if he was waiting for him to continue. "We ray sorry for entering your tomb without permission. If you forgive us, we'd like to pay whatever sum is appropriate as reparations." It was silent for a time. Then Aints emitted a sigh. Of course, as an undead, he didn't need to breathe. He did it to convey his attitude. If you find maggots in some food you had sitting in your house, are you the type to take them outside and release them instead of killing them? Humans are different from maggots. No, they ray not to me. Actually, humans might be worse. I don't think the flies that spawn the maggots are so bad, but you are different. You were brought here by force, with no urgent reason, only to appease your stupid desire for money. You raided this tomb even though there might have been someone in it to steal its treasures. He laughed. "But you don't have to worry. I am not blaming you. It's only natural for the strong to take from the weak. I do it too, so I don't count myself as an exception. That's precisely because I'd be robbed if someone stronger came along that I am on my guard. Anyhow, I am chatting too much. According to the simple law that the weaker meet and the strong shall eat, I am going to take something from you. But we actually do have an urgent no." He interrupted Hecarim in a forceful tone. "Do not offend me with your fabrications. Now compensate for your foolishness with your lives. What if we had permission?" Aints froze. Without a doubt, he was severely shaken. Inwardly, Hecarim was surprised that his casual remark had such an effect on him, but he didn't show it on his face. Just when he thought it was all over, a ray of hope had appeared. He had to capitalize on it. "Nonsense," Aints said in a tiny voice. "That's the most absurd thing I've ever heard. A total bluff. I think you've caused me enough displeasure." His disturbance spread through the room, and the dark elf boy began to look puzzled. When Hecarim eyed the last of their opponents, goosebumps rose over his entire body. The beautiful woman behind Aints still wore her kind smile, but she was emitting enough killing intent to draw a slick of sweat out of his forehead. And if it were true, no, it's a bluff. Most definitely not true. You ray just sacrifices wriggling in the palm of my hand. Aints shook his head and pierced Hecarim with his gaze. "But I just in case, I'll ask who gave you permission." "You mean you don't know him?" "Him? He didn't tell me his name, but he was quite a sizable monster." "Sizable?" That Hecarim desperately tried to think what the goal of this tightrope walking should be. Aints was obviously trapped. That's why he wasn't asking questions. If he asked, the truth or falsehood of the claim would be revealed. He acting just like a human, thought Hecarim. It didn't seem like the type of reaction a monster would have. It was cowardly. But this worked in his favor. "Tell me, what did he look like then?" "He was shiny." "Shiny?" Ain't seemed caught in another whirlpool of thought, and Hecarim breathed an internal sigh of relief that he'd escaped another dangerous juncture. He made subtle movements with his fingers to tell his teammates to look around for an escape route. Their opponents probably wouldn't kill them until they confirmed his claims as true or false. They'd have to come up with something during that time. What did he say? "We have to watch out for charm or mind control spells. Before I tell you, please guarantee our safety." "What? If you really received permission from one of my friends, I promise you'll be fine." "You don't have to worry about that." A new word, friends. Hecarim put the information he'd gathered together in his head. He knew what would be useful in negotiations and pulling information out of Aints Ul Gown. Aints had friends, but didn't he currently have a way to contact them? Figure out what information one's opponent is after and pretend to give it to them. That is the way of the con artist. What is it? Why aren't you saying anything? Tell me what the monster you met said. So far his tightrope walking had been a success. Then on to the next line. He wiped his sweaty hands on his pants. He said to say hi to Aints in the great tomb of Nazareth for me. Aints' name caused him to freeze. Did he do something wrong? Hecarin's expression tensed up. He asked if Aints was the one he was supposed to greet. Hecarin braced himself. He'd already taken his chances. Aints cackled at Hecarin's answer. It wasn't a good-natured laugh, but a throaty, fiery one. Aints paused. He said that made sense. If he thought about it, the story had been all over the place. Aints didn't make a move. He just fixed his eyes on Hecarin and his team. The crimson flames in his eye sockets gradually changed to a dark sparkle. It was a gaze accompanied by physical pressure, and the workers backed up a step. The gaze contained fury. He said they were garbage. They came into the place that he and his friends built with their dirty feet. Unable to rein in his wild anger, he was suddenly speechless. His shoulders heaved as if he were taking deep breaths, and then he raged on. And on top of that, you tried to use my friends, my most precious friends, you little shits. You think I can let that stand? He shouted violently. His anger seemed infinite, but all of a sudden he calmed down. The change happened so quickly it was as if something had snapped in half. It was enough that Hecarin and his teammates felt strange. This is the kind of stuff I say when I fly off the handle, he continued, but you didn't do anything so bad. You were probably just desperate and told a lie to survive. Honestly, the anger that is smoldering within me even now is just self-centered. Albedo, Aura, and any guardians who can hear my voice, plug your ears. The peerless beauty and the dark elf boy both plugged their ears. The boy stuck his fingers in, and the lady cutely covered hers. They meant to show him they weren't listening to what he was about to say. I never liked this plan. I didn't want to invite dirty thieves to the great tomb of Nazareth. Still, I understood that it was the best way, so I agreed to it. Aints shook his head in frustration. Well, whatever, I am done complaining. I was going to show you some mercy and kill you as warriors, but I changed my mind. I'll handle you like the dirty thieves you are. He spoke as if he was talking about something unrelated to any of them, and then cast off his robe. Beneath it was a body consisting solely of bones. An ominous dark red jewel floated inside his ribs. Besides that, he didn't have much equipped, only his pants and his greaves. He also had a collar on. The chains hung loosely, not attached to anything. Woo! A strange shout went up overhead. They looked up and saw a girlish figure with silver hair leaning out of the VIP section. Hands in some kind of blue gauntlets immediately yanked her back. What is she doing? I'll scold her later. The annoyed voice brought their attention back to Aints. He now had a black blade in one hand and a black round shield in the other. Okay, I am ready. Let's get this started. He had put a little more distance between his feet. Now he was in a battle stance. Albedo, Aura, you can unplug your ears now. The two whose names were called replied in unison. They removed their hands from their ears. I am in a very bad mood. I didn't think they'd be like this. I am going to fight them right up to the moment before they die. The rest I am leaving to you. Okay, let us get started. Aints may have been equipped with a sword and shield. But the first thing Hecarin thought when he faced him was that he wasn't a warrior or swordsman. In fact, he seemed most like a magical beast. He would come at them with superior physical ability. It stemmed from his casual way of standing. His stance was careless. Basically, he seemed like an amateur, but he was immense power, heavy and pressing in on them. His human-sized build seemed to swell and weigh down on them. The most terrifying thing about having made an enemy like that was if they attacked in a relentless chain. You ray not coming at me. Then here I go. Aints charged at the same time he asked. His speed was shocking. The distance between them became 0 in an instant. Next, he brought his sword down from high overhead. It was an attack with destructive power, but it should have been full of holes. When someone with his physical ability unleashed it, however, it turned into a one-hit kill. It is too dangerous to take this, Hecarin concluded instantaneously, sensing the sword's rapid approach. If he blocked it, he'd have to face that destructive power head-on. And in that case, The gap in their physical abilities would surely result in his being cut. Then he only had one choice. With a nasty grinding noise, the sword Aints had swung drove into the ground. Parry. Normally, a parry would throw one's opponent off balance and create an opportunity to counterattack, but Aints wasn't phased. He resumed his earlier posture with footwork that seemed to indicate he'd known ahead of time what would happen. Hecarim realized he'd been wrong about something. These weren't the movements of someone who was relying on physical ability alone, but of someone who understood how warriors move. Crap, I was underestimating him, but all I can do now is attack. Twin swords flashed and angled toward Aints' head.